Hi, welcome to my channel, and if you're new here, I'm Chrvi and I'm a self-taught artist. I've been creating content for a year now and I've gotten so many requests about how I paint, what materials I use, and just general stuff about my process. So today I'm finally showing you the entire process, what materials I use, and some tips and tricks I've learned about gouache and how I actually paint. So starting with the materials, first off, my gouache palette. These are the himi jelly gouache, 36 colors. I also have a separate spray bottle that I use to wet my gouache before painting, and this right here is my white poster color. So poster colors are very similar to gouache, and I always keep a bottle of white with me because I love the texture of this paint, but yeah, this is not something which is really important to have. Then I have my palette and my sketchbooks. I show you a little flip through of my sketchbook. It's completely dedicated to gouache. You can see I have painted a little in it. Some pieces are incomplete. I mean, it doesn't have unfinished sketches. Let's be real. So this sketch right here, I sketched it today and I'm thinking I might paint it, but I also have this one which I really like, and then there's this one. It's kind of different from my usual style, but it turned out so good that now I am confused. This is another handmade sketchbook and the painting here is exactly the style I'll be teaching you today. This is my usual style. It's how I love painting and that's what we'll be doing today. Okay, so I've made my decision. We are going with this one because today I really want to share my process and I don't feel like experimenting. So we'll stick with this piece. I show you how exactly I paint. Also, on a side note, if you notice the thread here is loose, that's because I stitched this sketchbook myself and I'm really bad at stitching. So yeah. These are my usual brushes. These are from Brustro and these are the aqua brushes which are meant for watercolors and gouache. Gouache behaves a lot like watercolor. They are simply opaque form of watercolor. So these brushes are good. This is the brush I'll be using today. I always start with a translucent wash. I have sketched the piece with watercolor pencils, and if you don't know what those are, they are basically pencils made with watercolor pigment. When you add water, they blend beautifully. I love using them because they blend well and don't leave the graphite marks. If you're not using watercolor pencils, I suggest giving your base a translucent wash in the same color you'll be painting. The reason I do this is that it softens the sketch and helps the colors blend better on the paper when you're using gouache. Now for the actual painting, I always use a lot of white in my base colors. Today I'm starting with a warm orange base, so I'm using this specific shades from my gouache palette. This here is the highlight shade. I always paint from the lightest to the darkest. First highlights and then the shadows. So I'm using white and yellow for the highlights, which is my usual combo. Make sure the translucent wash is completely dry before you paint. The consistency of your paint should be just right, not too thick and not too thin. It should be opaque, not runny or watery. Imagine the light source is from the front, so the parts that hit the light will be the nose, the front of the cheeks, a little bit of the chin and the forehead, and also the eyelids. For the midtones or the base color of the face, I'm using the same yellow-white combo, but I've added a little bit of salmon pink and a lot of orange to get this peachy orangey tone. Make sure to blend the edges of your highlights into the base color. Also keep the edges crisp near the nose and the chin. I like those areas to stand out more, especially the eyelids. I keep those highlights clean and I don't smudge them too much. Now, even though I don't always want a super light shade, I still use white because gouache has a slightly oily feel and white smooths everything out. And if you have used gouache directly from the cups, you will notice it sometimes doesn't sit well on paper, but once you add white, it glides smoothly. Now let's talk contrast. I do it a little differently. I use muted colors from the contrast, and if you don't know what muted colors are, they are bright colors toned down with something like yellow or orange. For example, I take a bright blue, add a little yellow to mute it down, and then I add lots of white. This is a little confusing. Comment down below if you like a full color theory video because I have learned a lot about it and I would love to teach you too. Anyway, for contrast, I'm using blue from my palette, adding a little bit of yellow, then a lot of white. It gives me this subtle contrast. It's not too loud, and I love that look. So we add contrast under the nose, near the nostrils, under the lips, the corners of the eyes, the corners of the lips, under the neck, under the eye, above the eyelid, and below the brow, basically the shadow spots. This is the lightest contrast layer. After this, I gradually increase the pigment, more blue and yellow and less white. Why? Because gouache works best in layers. You have to build it up slowly for it to really shine. But also don't use too much water while layering. You want your paint to be smooth and spreadable, not watery. That's super important. So now I am adding more blue to deepen the contrast, and I'll repeat this for about 2 to 3 maximum layers. Now this is the bolder contrast. I'm refining the highlights. You have to be really accurate and sharp now. I just layer the highlights and the shadows wherever I feel they should be really crisp and fine. I did the exact same thing on the side profile too. Now here's a lip painting hack I use. Take your lightest contrasting shade, add a tiny bit of red or pink or something in between, and you have got a perfect lip color. And I use this every single time. Once the highlights are done, I always go over them one more time with the poster white, not gouache. You can use gouache of course, but I prefer poster color for the final pop. I add this extra white on the nose, eyelids and lips wherever I need like really strong highlights. The reference picture of this sketch was in black and white, so I don't really have a clear vision of what it would look like, and I'm just going with the flow of the painting and just not experimenting, but just like what feels right. And honestly, I love how the sketch looked complicated but bold, and that's why I chose it. So in this sketch you can see there are like 4 heads. One is facing the front, the other is the side profile, and then behind them are just visuals, so kind of a shadows. So I'm just going to give a really dark color there, and honestly I don't have any clear idea of what I should do and not to do, and I'm just going with the flow and trying to see what works and what doesn't. Right here I'm using the same shade that I used earlier for defining the details, and I'm just filling in the space. So let's see how it turns out. I'm also adding more details where I feel like the front and the side profiles are co-joined, so I'm deepening that area to make it feel like they're really connected. And by far I feel like I'm done, but that blank space, I felt like it was way too hollow for me, so I added my signature sparkles and it looked good. So I added them all over the blank space, and now I feel like it looks like this artwork has such a deep and powerful meaning, but it doesn't. At least for me, you can find your meaning if you want. And I don't know though, I really don't like the final look. Maybe because I don't really have a clear vision of how it would turn out. Like, I don't know, I feel like it looked better when it was just a sketch, but whatever. I hope you still learned something, and I hope it gave you some insights into how I paint. And comment below if you have any video ideas or anything you want to learn. I have so much to share, but I don't always know what you guys want to watch, so please let me know in the comments, and I love to teach you. And that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye. I love you.